Mo Salah made all the headlines late last night, and in today's papers, he went nuclear basically after he was left on the bench for Liverpool's 3-3 draw at Leeds. As Jamie Carragher, I think, made the point, he usually talks when he's got something he really wants to get off his chest. Otherwise, he doesn't really bother, and he certainly had something to get off his chest last night. Henry, before we get into the bulk of it, let's hear a little bit of what Mo Salah had to say.
I'm sitting on the bench for 90 minutes. I think that's the third time I'm in the bench. I think it's my first time in my career, but I'm very disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed, to be fair. I have done so much for this club. Everybody can see that during the years, and especially last season. Sitting on the bench, I don't know why. Seems like the club is throwing me under the bus. The club promised me in the summer for a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can't say that they keep the promise. And I said that many times before. I had a good relationship with the manager, and out of the sudden, we don't have any relationship. I don't know why. It seems to me, how I see it, it's someone doesn't want me in the club.
Yeah, pretty explosive that, Henry. Someone wants him out the club. He's got no relationship with the boss. Thrown under the bus. I mean, it was spectacular.
It was spectacular. I mean, the one issue I have with what he says is when he says, I've earned the right to start. This is football. This is sport. It doesn't work that way. It's performance related.
He was making the point about Harry Kane, though, wasn't he? In which he said, when Harry Kane went 10 games without a goal when he was at Spurs, people just said, oh, well, Harry Kane will score eventually, and he stays in the team. Whereas if he's not, he's immediately benched, was his argument.
Yeah, I get that. And there are many Mo Salah supporters out there who will say, who will obviously back him. But the issue is does he actually contribute out of possession? If he is not playing well in terms of headline terms, in terms of stats, in terms of goals and assists, does he then contribute dropping back, tracking back and helping out his fullback, his right back, which has been a real issue with Liverpool this season? And no, he doesn't. I just think that leading into those 3 games that he's spent on the bench, I got the impression that the majority of Liverpool fans, ex-players, the beat reporters up on Merseyside were expecting him to be benched at some point, take him out of the firing line, as people say, maybe sort of rest him up and refresh him and then come back in. So, but look, he certainly deserves special treatment in terms of that he's a Liverpool legend. And a fantastic ambassador, role model for them on and off the field. So I think he deserves a special relationship there. But Liverpool's hierarchy of a decision to make now, and it's basically, do they back Mo Salah or do they back Arne Slot? And for me, and I know you've got a raised eyebrow on this, because of the way that Liverpool have been playing under Arne Slot this season, I think you have to back the manager rather than a 33-year-old player that you could sell to Saudi in January.
Well, I want to remember a club legend being benched for Newcastle when Ruud Gullit did it, and it cost Ruud Gullit his job the next day. Shearer went mad, wasn't happy to be on the bench, and the result was no manager. I accept it's slightly different circumstances because you're all talking about a manager who won the league last season, but it does feel like it's Salah or Slot. And you've got a game against Inter Milan coming up on Tuesday. Is he going to be on that plane? Does Slot say you're staying behind? Wow.
I do remember that night at St James's Park, chucking down with rain. That was an extraordinary night. And the race into I think is probably the best way to say it, Ruud Gullit's managerial door at the training ground was won by Duncan Ferguson ahead of Alan Shearer, who I think was sort of dropping off his kids, but he saw Duncan Ferguson sort of steaming. Absolutely, Gullit didn't survive that. But Arne Slot, whatever you think of some of his decisions this season, the recruitment, is that him or is that obviously upstairs, combination of the two? You have to back the manager in this.
For how long?
How long?
Well, because Mo Salah's...
So whose side are you on? I think you can have sympathy and understanding of both sides, but also understand that the ultimate winner has to be the manager. Otherwise, it's anarchy.
If you have faith that the manager can turn this around, he's had bad results, and now it seems he's lost some of the dressing room. Some players apparently are quite supportive of Salah's situation.
Yeah, but players will be supportive of Salah's situation in terms of he's a friend, they have respect for him, they admire him. But that doesn't necessarily mean they want also to throw the manager under the bus. It's a slightly dangerous road to go down if you're saying, right, the highest paid player at the club effectively is picking the manager.
As Slot made the point, he goes off to the Africa Cup of Nations after next weekend, and nothing can be solved before January anyway. He'll go away to there. By the time he comes back, Liverpool might have lost another 4 games, and Slot might not be the boss. It's possible.
It is possible, but then what do you do? Who would you bring in? Whose side are you on this? Do you believe in...
I think every player should... there's no player bigger than the club. As Salah made the point himself, he thinks he's earned the right to start all the time, even when he's in a...
But he hasn't on his performances this season.
No, I agree with
you.
Look, the manager should be able to drop him. Where I had an issue was when he was asked why you didn't put Salah on. His answer really didn't convince. He sort of stumbled around. He didn't have a logical argument for not putting Salah on late on.
So you think they're non-footballing reasons? In terms of
I genuinely don't know. I don't.
Do you think Mo Salah will be at Liverpool at the end of January?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I do think it's possible.
You see, my feeling when they gave him the contract, and a lot of so far brighter minds than mine up in the Northwest were saying this, is that at least it gives Liverpool the safety net of a chunky transfer fee in January from the Saudis.
You see, some people interpreted Salah's comments as him saying, I want to leave. I don't see anywhere where he said he wanted to leave. He sort of accused the club of trying to force him out. He didn't specifically name Slot as the person who was trying to force him out. In fact, somebody asked him, was it the sporting director? And he didn't want to get into it. But he certainly feels, I think he maybe feels it's Slot plus maybe the board as well.
I don't think he could have been Slot on his own. I don't think that would have to be...
Do you think he has to run it past the board saying, I'm going to leave Mo Salah on the bench and I will not be bringing him on against Leeds United?
No. Do you think he would do?
Well,
it has to be the coach's decision.
Speaking to people close to the football club, the word that came out more than most last night was sad. A sad way to potentially tarnish his legacy, a sad way to maybe exit the football club, because, of course, one of the things he said in this Bombshell interview was the game against Brighton could be his last at Anfield. He's invited the family to come along just in case that is the case. We know there's interest from Saudi Arabia. I expected him to leave at the end of the season and make that big money move to the Middle East. But it does feel to me like this is possibly Mo Salah trying to accelerate his departure. I think the line that sticks in my throat is that he's earned the right to play every game because of what he's done in the past. That's not how football works. And if you look at Mo Salah's form, not just this season, but the second half of last season when the goals really dried up, I don't think he does warrant a place in this starting 11. But it's going to be fascinating to see how the owners react to this power play that Salah has chucked out there. And really, he's backed up what Jamie Carragher said a few weeks ago. The only time we hear from Mo Salah is when he's got something to get off his chest or he's trying to get himself a new contract. I think the Liverpool owners have to come out now and back the manager and allow him to stand by his decision.
Yeah, look, he's thrown the club under the bus for me. It's not the other way round. And I've never heard of broken promises. But I mean, that's the first question to me for Mo. What promises are the club or the club broken? Because I can't think of one. I need to know, because you're saying they're broken promises. What promises? You've played every game before you got dropped.
Yeah, he's played every game. Obviously, they broke their own policy, really, by giving a player in the twilight of his career such a big money contract in order to keep him at the club. And obviously, you go back to that announcement, he was sat on a throne in the middle of the Anfield pitch. So he has literally been treated like a king. But you're only as good as your last performance, and his last performances haven't been good enough. He's not the only one, by the way. Maybe he's looking at the likes of Konate and Cody Gakpo and thinking, well, how come they're keeping their place in the team? But the issue you've always had with Mo Salah is his work rate off the ball. When he's scoring goals, he's making assists. The fact he doesn't really like to track back isn't a problem. But when you're in a team that is struggling to pick up points and your own output has dropped, I think that gives the manager a real headache. And I don't think anybody, even the staunchest of Mo Salah fan, could really complain that he's been left out for the past 2 games.
Yeah.
Crookie, we've had this text coming in here from Daniel Dean saying Mo Salah this season so far doesn't track back, doesn't take players on, doesn't score, doesn't defend, doesn't run. What the hell are we meant to do? Just keep playing a player that's playing rubbish? He's not bigger than the club. It's disgraceful what he's done.
I think that's the key line there. No player is bigger than the football club. And as I say, I think this is now a power struggle between Mo Salah and the manager, and that is why what the Liverpool hierarchy do next is going to be really interesting. What I don't expect Arne Slot to do is react to these comments and say, "Do you know what, Mo, you're right, because you scored all those goals last season, I'm going to put you straight back in the team in the Champions League against Inter Milan in midweek." If anything, I think it will strengthen Arne Slot's resolve that at the moment Mo Salah shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11. It will be interesting to see if he's even on the bench when that big Champions League game comes around. As I say, I think this is quite a sad way for Mo Salah to seemingly try and force an exit from the football club that he served with such distinction to this point.
But my biggest point is you've got a team now that does not include Mohamed Salah, and I think that it's not laughable to think it was unthinkable at the start of the end.
Absolutely,
it was, but form dictates everything.
Form does.
Where Liverpool are at, like no one can complain if
there's
there's
questions around that personally. So short term, it works because you're African Cup of Nations, you lead into that, it's a good transition. Long term, and I know it's mid term if you like because he's here for 2 years, but you know, to have a player that you're paying £400,000.
But that is just
Yeah,
what happened.
but so
That is just how it's happened.
But then I don't understand.
Fell out of form.
So what you're saying? You think Arne Slot has to pick him every single week? Even
No,
if
I
his
don't.
form's
I'm
nowhere
just
near good enough?
interested to see what he thought the
Basically, he
final
can't be on the
formation
bench
was going to
forever.
be. You know,
He's not
if
gonna
he
be
bought
good.
Verton and Isak, where did he think Salah was going to play if he's playing Verton?
But don't you see what I'm
And
saying to you?
Szoboszlai and-
I'm not
Well,
saying...
Wirtz plays off Isak and Salah plays from the right. I think that was the
yeah.
plan. And I thought it'd be Ekatike/Gakpo from the left in more of a
Yeah,
4-2-3-1.
You miss Trent's creativity.
Yeah, but I think the broad point I'm saying is it's just question. I've just got question marks on. You've now landed on a solution that doesn't contain Mohamed.
Yeah,
Right.
because he's been woefully out of form and
yeah.
had to lose his place on Sunday.
I think it's because you...
But that's just a question. It's just a question mark ultimately of like why have we landed on a solution where it doesn't include as
Because every time Salah has played for you,
Go on,
you've looked like
Raz. Go on,
you've
Raz.
you've looked like you've had 10 men.
over the last couple of games. I totally agree with what you're saying. Form on form. I get it.
Then on form, he's got to come out of the team.
Yeah, but that's he gets paid £400,000.
Yeah, I know, but Ryan,
like,
at
it
the
doesn't
end of the
matter.
day,
Look at
Ryan, you're looking through this through very Liverpool rose-tinted glasses. You are.
I'm not. You've paid £150 million for Verts,
Yes.
and you paid £130 million.
But that has only just got here.
Yeah, I know, but you paid £130 million for Isak, so you couldn't have a situation where he wasn't playing, could you?
Me and you are at a similar age, okay? I think I would say for me,
clarified
I would say for me in my lifetime, Mo Salah is whether it's him.
You love bringing up age on this show, don't you?
Whether it's him or Steven Gerrard, they're the two best players I've seen play for the football club in my lifetime, okay?
Yeah.
Last season, Mo Salah hit generational numbers
He did, yeah.
in terms of consistency, but he's not alone. There's no doubt this season, I think it's pretty obvious to see that Mo Salah's form has completely taken a dive. And I'll even go any further.
agree with you.
I'm surprised, Ryan, that Arne Slot hasn't dropped him earlier this season.
Ryan,
Hear me
would
out.
you keep
He's
playing?
been out of form. He's playing every 3 days, which isn't easy. So I thought him not playing against West Ham wasn't a surprise. We had our best performance in a long, long time. So therefore, I think it makes sense for this evening, given we finally won a game on the weekend just gone, to pick the same team, which doesn't include Mo Salah.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that much of a surprise, is it?
I think for me, I think it is a surprise because
But he's been awful this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I agree with you.
So would you
I don't
have
understand
kept playing him regardless of the form?
Me just
Nah, to
put
be
the
fair,
point-
he never said that.
point-
No, that was a question.
Let me put the point across. Ultimately, what I'm saying about Salah is I totally understand the reasons for why they've dropped him.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get that very clear. Right? Point
Okay.
number one. Totally understand the reasons why they've dropped him. I think for me, it was about understanding why the temporary solution that he's landed upon doesn't include Salah. And the bigger point is, how long does that go on for? Every press conference, they're going to ask Slot, Salah's on the bench.
Ryan,
Salah's on the bench. Salah's on the bench.
so-
No, all I'm saying is I'm just intrigued to see that he's landed upon a solution which doesn't include Salah right now because he's put Szoboszlai in that role, which seems pretty crucial. So you take that out, you're going to completely destabilise the team. So where does Salah come back in? Because Salah's not going to do the same role
But
as
Salah might not
Szoboszlai.
come back in the same way. In the
But
same
where
capacity.
would you put him in then? In that team? That's me.
Genuinely, currently I put him on the bench.
Yeah, but
which is
how
the
long?
right place
How
to-
long for, Abs?
Until you start losing again, and then you want to change it again. If you go on a...
Until you start losing again. That's
Why
not
would
a
you
solution,
change?
is it?
But why would you change something that you've won with? You hadn't won in however many games before that.
Because you're paying £400,000 a week.
It's irrelevant. Just because someone is paying.
How is that irrelevant? You've got your top earner on the bench.
Just because you pay
That's just
someone
not how it works.
£400,000 a week doesn't mean that they have to start if they're not playing well.
Not surprised that a player has took upon himself to literally vent his anger about being left out. Well, I understand you can be angry about being dropped. I mean, the comment that you said, it's not acceptable to me, to be honest. I don't know why it's always happens to me. I mean, it's never happened to you. That for a start. I don't remember. You know, if you've had all that success as a player at a football club, he's pretty much been a regular for the last 9 years. So it's not always happening to you. And Mo's not owning up to his form. He's blaming Slot. He's blaming the club. The bottom line is you've been dropped because you've been poor this year. And you think you're immune to criticism. Well, you're not. Because he sets his own standards. And he's been brilliant for Liverpool. Every Liverpool fan loves Mo Salah. And is appreciative of what he's done for the football club. But if you go out of form, I don't care who you are, if you're a big club and you're off form, you're going to either be left out or be driven out of the club. That's happened to many people. It happened to Ronaldo at Manchester United. It happened to Ozil and Aubameyang at Arsenal and others, Alexis Sanchez. You can name a whole host of players. But Mo is literally throwing the club under the bus for me, not the other way round, because how do you not understand why you've been left out? Your numbers, if you go through Mo's numbers, and I read out yesterday, the last 30 games, 7 goals. And if you go the previous 30 games, 25 goals in 30 games. He set that standard. And I understand he might be unhappy with Slot, the way it's been handled. We don't know that. We're not privy to all that sort of stuff. But what I would say, it's a reaction of a player who, for me, has not come to terms at all with how poorly he's been this year.
Well, Arne Slot said after the game that we have to accept the situation that we're in at the moment, and I base my decisions on that. Mo Salah's now been on the bench for the last 3 games. He goes off to AFCON next week. They've got Inter and Brighton just before that. So do you see Mo Salah staying at Liverpool if this continues?
Well, it's a tough one because now it's going to be a power struggle, isn't it? Because Arne Slot's under pressure because Liverpool are faltering. Like yesterday was a typical performance of Liverpool this season where they've got themselves in a position and they fell apart, made loads of mistakes, and it's ended up being a 3-3 draw. They're conceding goals at an alarming rate. So Arnie's under pressure. Mo Salah's come under pressure from himself. And that's nothing that Arnie will want to deal with. He will look now as Mo Salah's another problem. He's got about 10 issues. I could literally go top of my head, 10 issues he's got to deal with. Mo Salah probably is a priority, which he's already done, left him out. So he'll put that one to the back burner. He won't like it that Mo's come out and said, I don't get it. I'd love to know what Liverpool fans think. When a player comes out and says that he's been thrown under the bus and he doesn't understand why. How can you not understand? When I was left out, I knew why I was left out.
And what did you do about it?
Well, I wouldn't like it, but what do you have to do? You have to prove that you're, worthy of a place. You have to prove the manager wrong. You have to go in and train hard. You have to show in training that you're ready to go back into the first team and show again, once you cross that white line, that you're still a player. Mo has just literally thrown every toy out the pram in every way. I don't get it because we see this. Look, big players have massive egos, and I get that. That's what makes them the players they are. But you have to come to terms with why you've been left out.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Chris Sutton also agrees with you in terms of, he says it's embarrassing for Mo Salah and disrespectful to his teammates and his manager. Salah is no different from any other player. If a player's form drops as Salah's has, he's in the same situation as everyone else and has to accept being benched. But he thinks he's too good to be benched, sadly.
Yeah, well, he's not been too good because what we've seen of Mo Salah this season, if it had been anybody playing to a standard that's below what that we know they're capable of, you get left out in football. That's what happens. Again, going back to your club, Ozil, Aubameyang. What happened? You remember the Aubameyang when he signed that new deal and Arteta's presenting him and got him to sign this new contract, and then suddenly all his form disappeared in a heartbeat. What did Arteta have to do? He had to get him out of the club. It become that. And now, are we getting to the stage, and I think we clearly are, that Mo Salah now becomes a problem that you've got to remove.
Yeah. Well, this is what Salah said about his relationship with Arne Slot. I said many times before that I had a good relationship with the manager, and all of a sudden we don't have any relationship. I don't know why, but it seems to me, how I see it, that someone doesn't want me at this club.
Is this just a bad period that he's going through? Or at 33, are there signs that he's slightly in decline? He's got a lot of mileage on those legs, by the way, as well, not just for Liverpool, but for Egypt as well.
You're absolutely spot on, mate. And time will tell what the answer is to that, because there has been an alarming drop and his standards. Now, and I'll say it again, Jeff, and I mean it. If there is one player in the league that we can cut a bit of slack for a drop in form, it's got to be Mo Salah, because he has lit up our league for a great number of years, and he has been absolutely sensational. Now, getting back to the point, he's not been rotated, he's been dropped, and the bottom line is, in my opinion, he should have been dropped, because he hasn't been performing, as I mentioned, in like to the level that he can. And Liverpool have been suffering, not just totally down to Mo Salah, but it has been, in my opinion, it's been a massive contributing factor. I think the fullbacks have struggled, I think they struggled at centre-back, but the one glaring one is, because he's been so brilliant, is Mo Salah. And the conversation will now come up, should they have taken the money in the summer? I'm not sure. Will he come back? And the answer is, Jeff, I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, just to take that further, though, Coisty, the argument now could be, because he's got this extension on his contract, so he's going to be worth a few quid. Yeah. Tony is a massive Liverpool fan. He's been advocating for quite a while now. Take the money from Saudi, maybe £150 million in January, buy Mark Gay and Antoine Semenyo. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely on current form. That is a no-brainer of a decision.